Welcome back to part 2 of the 1966 Chevrolet Suburban. Go ahead and get this engine together. First we're going to start by putting on the heads. Using our Model Master liquid cement here. Put a nice thin bead of glue. The heads do matter which way they go on. The exhaust where the headers hook up will face out. I'll go ahead and put on the other cylinder head here. I have already dry fit these pieces off camera and had no fitment issues whatsoever. It's very rare that I run into a fitment issue with a Revell model. The AMT models, occasionally I'll have some problems. The biggest difference I've kind of seen between the two brands is really kind of just the amount of flash from when the plastics are molded. It seems Revell's machines might be a little bit better quality, if that's even possible, but I run into a lot less flash with the Revell, so something's definitely different. Alright, we've got our intake manifold on. Let's go ahead and toss on the timing cover. And I think this is looking way better than if all these pieces, according to the instructions, were supposed to have been Chevy orange. But we did the heads in black, intake manifold in aluminum, timing cover in aluminum. We masked off the tranny, did that in aluminum. Of course the block is in Chevy orange, and the valve cover gaskets will be in Chevy orange. And also, what I did with the valve cover gaskets is after painting them orange, I went ahead and just misted some flat black into the air and let the overspray come down on it, because I know for me, my valve covers were typically always a little bit dirty. Like I said, you know, this vehicle, you know, kind of a weekend warrior type vehicle. They take the kids out camping in it, so you know, this engine gets used, so it's definitely going to have some dirt to it, some dirtiness, and you know, maybe they got a solid cam, so they got to take the valve covers off all the time, you know, adjusting the valve lash and whatnot. So why not? Our valve covers are dirty. He's old school guy. He's got dirty hands and he's working on his stuff, and hey, he keeps it on the road, and that's what's important. Alright, got our valve covers on there. Let's go ahead and get this oil pan on. Got our oil pan, oil filter, and looks like starters up over there. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go ahead and hand paint the starter silver. I'll make a game time decision on that here in a little bit. Although painting it prior to gluing it would have been the most opportune time to do it. Although if I miss, it's not really a terrible idea. The tranny's already aluminum, so Alright, go ahead and get this carburetor on here. And it does fit only one way. There is a half moon, so we need to make sure our orientation is correct for that. Otherwise, you know it, Agony City. There we go. Got our carburetor up there. Let's go ahead and get our there we go. Got our ignition cap here. There we go. My engine coming right along. We can go ahead and throw on our pulleys here. Gonna dry fit this. Now the alternator also fits on here, so we're gonna go ahead and put that on first. It'll just make it easier rather than trying to slip this on after the fact. And before the glue really starts to set in, we'll be able to adjust the alternator prior to that glue setting in. So let's go ahead and slip this pulleys on. Alright, alternator looks good orientation there. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. On our fan, going to sit right at the edge of that pulley. Looks like no fan clutch for this one. So I guess the fan's just spinning all the time with the pulleys. There we go. Alright. Moving right along here. I'm going to go ahead and let this get set up, and after that we'll go ahead and throw on the headers. And I'm debating on not gluing on the air cleaner. Typically if it sits well enough I won't glue it on. This way I can always take it off when I open the hood and show off you know, the manifold and the carburetor and whatnot. So that's a piece I typically do not glue on, as it would cover up a lot of stuff, and if the fitment is good enough, typically you don't have to glue it on. So, alright, while we've got our engine setting up and letting the glue dry, I've gone ahead and taken the body pieces and go ahead and rough them up with some 600. So let's go ahead and get those primed, because as far as the instructions go, next we're going to be putting things into the body, so we want to definitely get that done. Now we can jump around between steps and stuff like that. I like to put all the engine together, I like to get the interior together, but you know, it's inevitable. We're going to have to prime the body and body parts is whatnot at some point, so might as well get it done. I'll meet you outside. I'm going to go ahead and dock the battery terminals. Hopefully you can see this. This is where the magnifying glasses and fine tip brush really come in handy. While our primer is drying, let's go ahead and put the wheels and tires together. So I've already put one together to see kind of how it went together. And again, I used the darker primer with the orange to really give some good highlights in the rim to show some use. I also took some sandpaper and sanded up the tires like I always like to do. So here's a finished product. Actually, there's a center cap that will go on there. We'll put that on here in a minute. But basically, we take our tire, and there we have it. I'm going to go ahead and assemble the rest off of camera, and I'll see you in a little bit. When it comes to wet sanding, water, the 600 grit, just go over it nice and easy. And do this to all body pieces. Now that we've got our tires together and our wet sanding is dry, let's go ahead and start getting some color on the body part. So you're going to want to do 2 to 3 dust coats followed by 2 wet coats. And that's going to go ahead and wrap it up here for part 2. Stay tuned for part 3 where we'll actually be masking off the body to get our two-tone look, doing some clear coat, and possibly the rest of assembly. So, stay tuned.